Warning. The language used on The Real Rush may be offensive to some viewers. Don't say I didn't fucking warn you.
Hey guys, it's Rutgers. Jadam's in the back taking the shit, so he done asked me to provide the intro to this week's episode of Cha Cha Cha. How y'all doing today? I don't give a shit. Hey, listen, your boy Rutgers got a little bit of a rhyme to kick off this week's episode for you. And whether y'all want to hear it or not, Rutgers don't give a shit. So we'll go a little something like this. Here you go. All my exes live in Texas. All the girls I bone live in San Antonio. I don't pay no rent, don't pay no taxes. Sit your fat ass down and bang your head to the opening riff, girl.
Shut up and sit down.
No, don't hurt me! I have a family!
Phones off, please. No, don't do it. Don't do that, because more than likely, chances are that's what most of y'all are watching this week's episode of The Real Rush on right now. What I'm referring to is a phrase that was spoken at the opening IMAX showing of The Invisible Man this past Thursday night, 7 o'clock, up at the old Hoyts. Hashtag I still call it Hoyts, Regal Manassas. That very phrase was loudly and boldly exclaimed by someone in the audience as the movie itself began, as the Universal Pictures logo came up on the screen. And the someone who spoke that very phrase was me. It was also at that very moment that you saw any lit phone screen illuminated in that dark ass movie theater shut off. And it was from that very point on, throughout the duration of The Invisible Man, no phone cut on. And that, my friends, is what we here at The Real Rush call preventative maintenance. What's happening, y'all? It is your boy J-Dub, and welcome to episode 75 of The Real Rush right here on YouTube. Now I want to go ahead and add to that whole preventative maintenance joint. It's not like I just shouted off, phones off please, and then watch everybody cut the shit off and then just kick my feet back after that and be like, yeah, I'm shit. No. As soon as I saw all the screens go off, I did say very quickly after that, thank you kindly. Because it was a very kind effort. So thank you very much for your cooperation. We done hit another milestone here on The Real Rush just earlier today, y'all. The Real Rush on YouTube garnered, gained, claim staking, what have you. It's 1,000th view, y'all. Now I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound like a hell of a lot, especially for someone who's put out 75 episodes, but quite honestly, y'all, that shit means the world to your boy right here on The Real Rush. So I want to once again thank everybody who has tuned in to The Real Rush here on YouTube thus far. So very much, and I hope that y'all continue to do so. So I'm gonna continue making this shit as enjoyable as possible so y'all can continue to do so. So, we're a little bit delayed here, I guess you could say. We're filming this on Sunday night. I know what y'all are thinking. Dub, this is about to be the second week in a row that you releasing your shit on a Monday morning. Like what's going on, man? Well, hey, your boy partied a little bit too hard during AEW Revolution last night. Then I did hop on Grand Theft Auto Online for a couple of hours. Maybe an hour or two longer than I probably should have. But as we get on down to the brass tack of what is on this week's ticket for episode 75, we're dealing with movies from the past As in, from last weekend, we dealing with movies from the present, as in this very present weekend, and we dealing with things from the future. We dealing with movies that ain't even come out yet. So, and that's why I mean that this episode is actually still on time, because we gonna kick things off with your boys' official Real Rush review of days before it even coming out at the theater, y'all. So we got a fresh, hot off the press review for y'all. Get prepared, y'all, for the new Disney Pixar joint. And this joint is called Onward. And Onward takes place in a world where mythical creatures still roam the world. Elves, manticores, minotaurs, and what have you. This is also a world where magic once run rampant. Magic used to be the end all be all before it took a back seat to technology. Yes, that's starting to sound a little bit like real life there. Yet I digress. In this magical, mythical world where magic still exists, it's just not used very often as it could be used in lieu of technology. Two elf brothers who lost their father at a very early age find out on the younger brother's 16th birthday now that they are both considered men. They have become of the age of man. They find out that their long passed away father has left them a gift to be given to them once they have reached that age of man. And it is this magical staff that, when used properly, will bring their pops back to them for only a 24-hour period so they can spend some time with him before he actually does disappear forever. Well, sometime during the magical spell, something goes horribly wrong and they only get the bottom half of the man back. So now it is up to these two brothers to embark on a mythical quest together to finish the spell and complete it before that time runs out and they lose their chance to spend any time with their long lost pops forever. Tom Holland, Chris Pratt, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Octavia Spencer, just a couple of the principal voice cast, to name a few, that's holding it down in this joint. And I want to go ahead and we're just going to, bold statement, right here, right now, here on the Real Rush, kicking on my Real Rush review of Onward by saying that this by far, well, I wouldn't say by far, but so far is the best film of 2K20. I'll say it again. Onward is the best film so far of 2020. Let's break down why. Number one, Disney Pixar. Do they ever put out anything bad? I actually remarked to a couple as we were leaving the theater yesterday evening, both wiping tears from our eyes and whatnot. We both asked ourselves, does Disney Pixar put out anything bad? We don't wish that Disney Pixar ever puts out anything bad because we do really enjoy what y'all do put out. But it's almost like they cannot fail. And Onward is no different. I want to go out on another limb here. I think that Onward is their best, and I'm speaking outside of like the Toy Story franchise and whatnot, is their best standalone film since Inside Out, because it's dealing with inner emotions and being able to effectively communicate to the younger ones how to deal with not only such emotions but with the loss of a loved one and things that may or may not have been had the loved one still been around and things of that sort. It makes the kids ask questions. I sat next to a father and son during the advanced screening of Onward yesterday, and throughout the movie, the boy was asking not bothersome questions, but actually really good, like, where's this kid coming up with this stuff? Asking his dad questions to the point where it's like this movie's going to open up a good conversation, a good dialogue between this Pops and his kid right here. So it looks like it's going to do a really good job of that. Being able to open up communication between kids and parents. That is oh so important nowadays, ladies and gents. So we have a medium that is going to bring that to you. Second off, or is this our third point? I forgot. But forget the, who cares? Who cares? The fact that it's a Disney Pixar joint and the fact that they can do no wrong. You know that the humor is going to be on point. We're talking about emotions, so you know that there are going to be some tearful moments in here, both of joy and of not necessarily sadness, but it does hit you in the heart. Like I said, Disney Pixar, they cannot do wrong by that. The screenplay of this, like prime rib, baby, just oh so tender, oh so good, oh so juicy. And mainly what I want to get down to, as I like to with any, for lack of a better term, kids movie that comes out, is the 2 points. Are the kids going to enjoy this? And are the parents going to enjoy this as well? A, yes, the kids are going to enjoy this. They're going to get a kick out of this. There are plenty of things in there that are going to not only entertain them, but as I stated a couple moments ago, make them want to inquire about certain things. Make them want to ask questions. And like I said, not bothersome questions, but actual questions about life that I don't think you should really shy away from. These movies are put out for that very reason, to bridge that gap that on certain conversation topics that parents might have a hard time opening up to their kids about. That's what these kind of movies are for, to bridge that gap. So it's going to make them inquire about certain things. But they'll be entertained, it'll make them inquire, which gives them more of an open mind, which in turn hopefully will lead to a happier generation down the line. So yes, kids are absolutely going to enjoy this one. Are the parents going to enjoy this one as well? It's a Disney Pixar joint. Of course you're going to enjoy it. Now, my no kids having ass can say that because I didn't have to worry about wiping up any little snot bubbles or anything throughout the movie. But I can sit there and tell you that I was not the only adult in the theater who wasn't laughing his ass off at certain points. And of course, there's going to be certain nuances, certain little lines thrown in there that kids aren't going to get, but the parents are going to latch on to. That's what they're there for. Overall, once again, Onward, 2K20's best film. And because it's a Disney Pixar joint, these kind of movies usually have some type of short film that they play before the movie, right? Well, this one does. And it stars The Simpsons! Namely Maggie Simpson! Yeah, so your boy had a good day yesterday. So, yeah, you got The Simpsons opening up for Onward. Overall is an awesome, family-friendly, full of family fun experience. Round up the posse, go see Onward, have yourselves a great time. Onward opens in theaters starting this Thursday night. Everywhere, y'all. Go check out Onward and enjoy yourselves.
Quiet down, please. You're making me more nervous.
Next up on this episode is Real Rush Ticket. Let's get on down to the brass tacks of this weekend's current new releases. And I want to start off this section. We're going to kick off this section with the latest adaptation of the classic H.G. Wells novel, The Invisible Man. Now this stars Elizabeth Moss as a woman who has recently escaped, and I do mean the term escaped, from an incredibly abusive relationship where she was involved with an albeit rich and very smart, very genius, very scientisty boyfriend, but also highly fucking narcissistic boyfriend who she just had to get the hell away from. Well, when it turns out that old dude is off himself and left her a shit ton of money. Has old dude really offed himself? Or has the rich, narcissistic genius figured out a way to render himself invisible so while everybody else thinks he's dead, he can continue to make her life a living hell as an act of revenge? Whoa. What a hell of a twist on a classic novel. And not only does this play really well on the whole invisibility scares. Now, I will admit before we go any further on this that this did have a bit of a Hollow Man feel to it from some of its earlier trailers and such, but this is a totally different invisibility horror thriller film than that of Hollow Man with your boy Kevin Bacon from some odd years ago. I thought it was going to go down that path, but it totally doesn't. Not only does this movie play really well on the invisibility scares, but it also plays really well on the psychological mindfuck scares, not only on the invisibility itself once again, but on that of the horrors of being in such a relationship as that of Elizabeth Moss's character. I don't want to talk too terribly much on this point itself, but speaking as someone who has been involved in a relationship where like gaslighting and shit was involved, this movie does a really good job at portraying such horrors as those on camera and how they can drive one's character such as Elizabeth Moss to not necessarily the brink of insanity, but to start to question their own sanity and logic and things of that sort. So Elizabeth Moss did a bang up job as her just stressed to the all ends of the fucking world character. And this movie does a really, really outstanding job on playing on those fears and being able to convey those to the audience. This is directed by Lee Winnell, one of the masterminds behind the Saw franchise. So you know that it's going to be full of twists and just shit that you did not see coming, but it plays off so gloriously well on the screen. The Invisible Man, as I stated at the beginning of this episode, saw it in IMAX the other night up at the old Hoyts, Regal Manassas. I suggest you do the same, but play it everywhere, y'all. Catch it where you can find it. And this is the one that I'm singling out for this week that your boy wants to know what your thoughts are on this. Because while it's getting positive reviews, it doesn't seem like people are flocking out the door to see it. So your boy wants to know what your thoughts on The Invisible Man are, what you liked about it, maybe what you didn't like about it. Get back to your boy and we will converse on that later on. But for the time being, The Invisible Man is playing everywhere. Don't sleep on it, y'all. Once again, this is that time of year where a lot of people aren't really, really thinking that a lot of horror movies are going to be coming out. Don't sleep on that shit. Go see The Invisible Man. Go check that out and go be surprised. Next up on this episode's Real Rush Ticket, let's move along to our Friday Night Angelica selections. And we're going to kick off this portion of the episode with another classic novel adaptation. And this one is an adaptation of the, once again, classic Jane Austen novel, Emma.
But she's in the corner to crying. Wait, no,
Now, Emma stars Anya Taylor-Joy as the upper-class British socialite who has no plans to wed or marry on her own, but just loves to meddle in the love affairs of her family and friends. Now, will her meddling prove to be her undoing? Or will her meddling ultimately prove to be her own coming of age of sorts? Once again, we have Anya Taylor-Joy, we have Johnny Flynn from Beast from a couple years back that I've been raving so much about. Josh O'Connor's up in it, and Bill Nighy's up in it. And quite honestly, this is quite delightful, quite bright. quite the romp, I guess you could say. I will admit, it did take about 20 or 30 minutes for the movie to fully just warm up to your boy. That's only because your boy is normally not used to the Victorian period pieces, but lovers of the novel, you could tell who they were in the audience. They were in love with this movie as soon as it popped off. And as soon as it did warm up to your boy, I thought it was highly entertaining. Full of that quick wit, that quick British wit that if you blink your ears for a second, you will miss something. This was so entertaining to the point that I would like to see this once again for a second viewing to maybe pick up on some of the things that I might have, missed in the first 20 minutes that while I was trying to get a good grip on what was going on screen there, and just trying to get a full grasp of the characters and the story itself. But quite honestly, that's just my own foible right there. I think the movie itself did do a really good job of explaining who the characters were, what significance they had to the story right from the giddy up, without explaining too terribly much and without having to pretty much spell it out for you. So overall, this is being called the best adaptation of Jane Austen's novel. Unfortunately, I cannot compare it to any of the previous adaptations, but if any of the other audience members who were present during Emma on Friday night, if that's any indication, then I think that lovers of the novel are going to be the biggest fans of this. And even if you're not, ladies and gents, keep an open mind and go ahead and give Emma a chance and let it warm up to you as well. I think that you will be delightfully surprised walking away from this movie, just as your boy was himself. That means that this movie exceeded my expectations from what I went into it thinking on Friday night. I think audience overall wise, it'll do for y'all the same. Emma is not playing everywhere. It is in currently limited release. It's currently playing up at the Angelica if you're in the DC metropolitan area. It will be opening at Cinema Arts this coming Friday if you're also in the DC metropolitan area. Of course, if you're not in this area, check your IMDb, check your Fandango, and go ahead to get you some prim and proper Emma and get you something different on your palate and be entertained. I think you'll enjoy it, y'all. Check it out. Next up on this episode's Real Rush Ticket is our other feature from our Friday Night Angelica of this weekend. And this one tells a story of a famed actress who headed for a downfall, but did she lead to her own downfall, or was that due to the powers of the government? This movie is called Seberg. Kristen Stewart stars in the title role as Jean Seberg in this film, as it follows her mostly throughout the late 60s, early 70s. While she's not a big deal over here in America at that time, she's a huge deal over in France. But when she wants to expand her acting roles or acting options and starts looking for roles over here in America, at the same time, she ends up becoming very deeply involved with the civil rights movement that's going on at that time. Now, because of that, that deems her as a huge credible threat by the FBI, who starts meddling in her affairs, fucking up her life, and ultimately leading to her downfall. Kristen Stewart, Anthony Mackie, Zazie Beetz, Jack O'Connell, Vince Vaughn, Colm Meaney, Margaret Qualley, the list goes on. You have a top-notch cast in this thriller. That's point number one. Point number two, as I stated last week, that this movie right here was going to put all the Kristen Stewart haters on notice. Consider yourselves put on fucking notice. This role was, without a shadow of a doubt, made for Kristen Stewart. I don't know if anybody else could have pulled off the role of Gene Seberg as well as Kristen Stewart did in this film. So much so that I'm going to go out on another limb in this episode right here on The Real Rush and say that this is, without a shadow of a doubt, Kristen Stewart's best role to date, y'all. So again, to all the Kristen Stewart haters out there, why do y'all keep hating on this woman? I don't know. If you still hate on this woman after seeing this movie, then that must be some shallow shit y'all got going on there, y'all, because she just put on the performance of a lifetime as Gene Seberg in Seberg. Point number 2. That leads us to point number 3. Not a lot of people know about the actress Gene Seberg right off from the giddy-up. So a lot of people don't know about her involvement with the civil rights movement at that time and how this led to her downfall. All of this tied together makes this one of the most important stories to be told within like the last couple generations. And it makes you question, it's like, well, this is the same government that still runs things these days, and there's so many movies coming out about, you know, all these hearsay things that happened back then. Who's to say that stuff like this isn't still happening these days? It makes you question a lot of things. It makes you ask the questions that nobody really wants to ask these days. And overall, because of what's going on in today's current political climate, you tie that together with the atrocities that are put forth by this film. This film is one of those that will make you white knuckle infuriated by the time that the ending credits roll, making this an absolute must-see film. Don't sleep on the film, and definitely don't sleep on Kristen Stewart's performance as Gene Seberg in this movie. Same as Emma, this is not in wide release. This is currently in limited release. This is currently playing, once again, up at the Angelica. If you are in the DC metropolitan area, if you are not, check your IMDb, check your Fandango. Please check out the story of Miss Gene Seberg, and let's get yourself some history on that palette of yours. Seberg, check it out when and where you can. Don't sleep on this shit, y'all. Next up on this episode is Real Rush Ticket. So now, did I say that we had 3? I don't remember what I said a couple moments ago. All I know is that we're moving on to this weekend's next new release, and this is another one that was added to the itinerary for this weekend. This one is a documentary which is called Once We're Brothers, and this tells the story of the band The Band. That's the name of the band, The Band, from the 60s and the 70s that put out the hit The Weight. You know it. Take a load off Fanny, take a load for free. You know that jam. This tells a story about their beginnings, how they came together to not only form the band, but the band itself wasn't just a band. The band was a brotherhood. The band was a family that was, in all honesty, equated to basically the American equation to that of the Beatles coming out of Britain at the time. Like, they were that good. But with most close-knit units like this, you know that there has to be a silver lining at some point, and at some point all good things like this must come to an end. So this movie, it explains not only how they came together, but how the turmoil and the inner addictions and what ultimately not necessarily drove the band apart, but what did lead to their downfall, so to speak. This joint, and I didn't know this heading into it, is produced by Martin Scorsese, Brian Grazer, and Ron Howard. This is an Imagine documentary. You even have some clips, some interviews by Scorsese in there itself. This, ladies and gents, Once We're Brothers, hands down, this year's best documentary so far. I can't stress that enough. And your boy's already a lover of music documentaries just going in. But this joint, hands down, this year's best documentary. You want to keep this one on your radar. If you want to start getting ready for next year's Oscars, what is it that they always say in sports? The game can't be won in the first quarter, but it can damn sure be lost in the first quarter. Well, we're in the first quarter of this year, heading into next year's Oscars, so you want to be well prepared. You go see yourself some shit like Once We're Brothers. Get yourself a taste of that Americana. Get yourself the history behind one of the greatest musical driving forces known to man within the last 50 or 60 years, y'all. Get you some. This is currently playing up at Cinema Arts. Very limited release, and with these kind of movies, they sometimes don't stay in theaters but for a week, maybe two at the very most. I cannot stress this enough, y'all. Once We're Brothers, this year's best documentary. Please go see this while you can. If you are in the DC metropolitan area, it is playing at Cinema Arts. Once again, not in the DC metropolitan area, IMDb, Fandango, whatever you need to do, find Once We're Brothers where it is playing. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. It will have you standing in your seats and wanting some good music, some soul. Get you some soul after that. Soul ain't just for us. Soul is colorblind, y'all, and this movie proves it. Once We're Brothers. Check that shit out, y'all. Next up on this episode is Real Rush Ticket. Now that we done gotten the future shit out the way, we done gotten the present shit out the way, now let's catch up on some of that past shit. You know, that shit that we couldn't see last weekend due to time constraints, due to last weekend's Bandit show and the pay-per-view and shit like that. Well, there's one review that I promised at the end of episode 74 that was supposed to be on episode 74, but I said we'll be here for episode 75. And seeing as in, we're here on episode 75. Here the fuck it is! Your boy's review of Impractical Jokers, the movie. And Impractical Jokers, the movie, it follows the Impractical Jokers, the Tenderloins, Q, Murr, Sal, and Joe as they look to redeem themselves from a mishap at a Paula Abdul concert in the early 90s. They are given this chance at redemption. And of course, on the trip to this Paula Abdul redemption, there's gonna be the Impractical Joker challenges and pranks and such along the way. Y'all, as I stated, I think I stated this at the end of last week's episode, but going into this, your boy had never seen a single episode, not even a single skit of the Impractical Jokers ever before in his life. So your boy just went into this completely blind. Just, alright, show me what you edited. Let's see if this shit'll be funny. Well, if this doesn't speak leaps and bounds about the movie itself, I don't know what will. But I walked out of Impractical Jokers, the movie, on Tuesday night, having laughed the hardest in the theater I can remember laughing in quite a while. Now, yeah, there were some in-show references and such that if you didn't watch the show, you probably won't get. I probably wanted a couple of them, probably went over my head, but quite honestly, a lot of the stuff that they were talking about, a lot of shit that they were doing, reminded me of a lot of shit that my improv troupe does. So, a lot of stuff, it was pretty easy to catch on to the little, like, in-show shit, what have you. The pranks and stuff were awesome. hilarious. I'm laughing so hard in the theater, I think I might have pissed off the people sitting behind me. This is getting not the greatest reviews, and quite honestly, I'm not really sure why. This is like grade A, disconnect your brain, just forget about all the bullshit in the world, go enjoy yourself in the movie theater for, an hour or two, and come out feeling good because you got them endorphins running. That's what Impractical Jokers, the movie, brings to the table. Once again, one of the funniest experiences I've had in theaters in a long time. The cameos in it are on point. I already told you about Paula Abdul, but that doesn't count as a cameo because that's the mishap of the plot. But there are other cameos in it that you should definitely look out for. And I am a testament, ladies and gents, whether you have seen the show or not, it doesn't matter. You will enjoy this shit nonetheless. Impractical Jokers, the movie. Now, this wasn't in the widest release when I saw it. As a matter of fact, Tuesday night, your boy went all the way to hell out to Franconia to see this joint at Regal Kingstown. Not only so he could still see it as part of his Regal Unlimited pass, but what was I about to say? The but there. Oh, because that was one of the very few places that was playing a late showing of Impractical Jokers to where I wouldn't have to wait possibly another week to see the joint, or would I? Because it turns out that as of this weekend, Impractical Jokers looks to be in full wide release, so it does look like it's playing at theaters everywhere. Go check out Impractical Jokers, the movie. Go disconnect your brain for a little bit and go get yourself just some goofy as fuck fun, y'all. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I think y'all will too. Impractical Jokers, the movie, now playing everywhere, y'all. Check it out.
Wait, don't do anything stupid. You'll get your money.
Moving right along in this episode's Real Rush Ticket, next up is the movie that was selected as the Swedish entry for this year's Oscars for the Best International Feature Film category. It was not nominated, but the fact that it was selected as an entry for consideration does speak leaps and bounds. And the name of this film is called And Then We Danced. And Then We Danced follows the story of a young man in Georgia. And I'm talking about the country Georgia. I don't mean down south Atlanta, Georgia. No, the country Georgia. He's a dancer in Georgia. He's been partnered with a woman pretty much most of his life as his dance partner, and is somewhat of a relationship partner as well. But when a new male dancer shows up to the troupe, a little bit of a rivalry is sparked, but at the same time, a little bit of a romance is sparked between the two as well. Now, this is also taking place in a state that, even though that this is taking place in current times, such things are still forbidden, especially in the profession of dance. So this could cause, a little bit of turmoil between what the man wants to follow as his professional dream or what the man wants to follow as his romantic dream. Outstanding film, y'all. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds oh so very similar to that of Call Me By Your Name, and even very similar to Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which we just reviewed a few weeks ago. And you'd be very right in that assessment. But that does not mean that it is any less good than either of those two films. There's a reason that stories like this keep coming out, if you haven't realized this to try to keep that notion going that it is okay to follow your true romantic heart. If you feel that what you're doing in your heart, whether it be being in a relationship with somebody as the same gender, as a different gender, or what you wear, what you eat, what you drink, what you sing, what you do with your life, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, and if it's making you happy and has potential to make that other person happy too, then go ahead and follow that shit. I love the moral that this story brought across, that it conveys, and that it brings to the table, y'all. And Then We Danced, currently in limited release. This is playing up at Cinema Arts in Fairfax. For the DC metropolitan area viewers out there, of course, if you're not here, IMDb, Fandango. But once again, this was not selected as an entry for Oscar consideration for nothing. And let's keep the ball rolling on awareness, y'all. And Then We Dance. Check this movie out where you can find it. This movie, I will state, that sets it apart from Call Me By Your Name and Portrait of a Lady on Fire, is that this movie does an phenomenal job. Ooh, phenomenal. Does a phenomenal job of redefining the term masculinity. I'm gonna leave it at that. And Then We Danced. Catch it where you can find it, y'all. Check it out. Last but most certainly not least, on this episode's Real Rush ticket, we have this year's official Russian entry for consideration for Best International Feature Film at this year's Oscars. This also was not nominated, but same as And Then We Danced, the fact that it was considered as an official entry speaks leaps and bounds about this movie as well. And this movie is called Beanpole. Now, Beanpole follows the lives of two women in post-World War II Leningrad. One of them, they both served at some point in the war. One of them has been working as a nurse after she's been suffering from head trauma, which has been leading to these freezing fits, where she just freezes for unknown bouts of time. She's later met by her other friend who's just returned from the war, and it follows them as it shows not only the hardships of being two women in post-war Leningrad at this time, at following World War II, but what type of effect that it has on their lives. Once again, not just being women at this day and age, but having being women who, once again, have not only firsthand have witnessed the horrors of war, but have firsthand been on the front lines to witness the horrors of war. Wow. Compelling story. All the way, y'all. All the way. And your heart goes out. It makes you wonder, I mean, not just for what happened after World War II, but it makes you wonder about the after effects on any war of anybody, really anywhere, and how they carry on with their lives afterwards, knowing that nothing's ever going to be the same the way that it was before all the violence worldwide started and just, for lack of a better term, fucked it up for everybody. Beanpole. This is a little long. I would have shortened it just a little bit. This is one that you want to make sure that you are good to go attentive-wise on. Don't be coming to this one all like, okay, I can see this one, you know, last movie of the evening. Subtitles, yeah, I'll be able to get through this one, no problem. No. This one will require all your energy to make sure that you get through it without missing a beat. I saw this in the middle of the day, had no problem. One woman I saw in front of me, though, at one point, she started nodding off, and then another point, she pulled out her phone. So you knew that the movie just went out the window for her right there. Attention gone. You're gonna have to see Beanpole again, lady. But it's definitely a movie worth that second view if you missed it the first time. Beanpole. Playing at Cinema Arts, DC metropolitan area. If you're not in this area, you know what you need to do. But most certainly, check this joint out, y'all. Beanpole. And that, my friends, woo, is a wrap of episode 75 of The Real Rush right here on YouTube. It is at this time that I would like to remind y'all that the next third Friday of the month Bandit Show is coming your way. March 20th up at the Stagecoach Theater Company in Ashburn, Virginia. Tickets are already on sale online. $12 online, $15 at the door. But of course, if you go online to get your tickets, use the promo code John, my name, all caps, JOHN, wear that shit the fuck out. You get yourself a discount. So where can you go online to get yourself your tickets? You can get yourself your tickets online at stagecoach.com/stagecoach-bandits. Once again, that is Stagecoach, T as in Tom, C as in Coach.com/stagecoach-bandits. Use that promo code John, JOHN, all caps. Get that discount. You wear that shit the fuck out. Come out. Have some laughs, y'all. And coming up for y'all next weekend on episode 76 of The Real Rush right here on YouTube. Looks like we have a 4-movie weekend. It looks like I'll be a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more energetic. I'm knocking on this wood right here. But of course, last couple times I'm going to say that, the fucking itinerary just blows up at the last minute. But for the time being, what we're going to have review for y'all next week will be The Way Back with Ben Affleck. Looking forward to that one. We'll also have for you Wendy, a new take on the Peter Pan story. Intrigued to see what that one's all about. We'll have for you Greed. Really looking forward to that one. And we'll also have the review for Hope Gap. So those 4 movies for you. And of course, what knows what randomness will come for you will bite you in the ass during episode 76 of The Real Rush right here on YouTube next week. But in the meantime, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any shit like that, please don't hesitate. Feel free to type those on into the comment box on the page where you are viewing this week's episode of The Real Rush on YouTube right here, right now. To everybody who has subscribed to The Real Rush here on YouTube thus far, thank you for having done so. Thank you for getting us to 1,000 views. Let's wish it for thousands and thousands upon millions and millions more. If you're not one of our fellow subscribers yet, what the hell are you waiting for? You want to be the first to know when your boy drops a new episode right here on YouTube. And of course, spread the word of The Real Rush like everybody should be spreading love these days, ladies and gents. So hug a motherfucker and tell him about The Real Rush, which means hug a motherfucker and let him know that you know a guy who does movie reviews. And that is not only just new releases. Of course, when we release a new episode of The Real Rush, that means that those are new releases at that time. But that doesn't mean that any episode of The Real Rush has an expiration date on it. If there's any movie that you ever want to know what your boy thought about and get a good, honest-to-God review on, all you got to do is go up to the search bar up at the top of the YouTube page here, type in quotation marks, The Real Rush, followed by outside of quotation marks, the name of the movie that you're looking for, and then boom, instant movie review on demand, because The Real Rush and your boy J-Dub got you covered for life, son. And as always, favorite part, you can follow your boy on Instagram for my live movie check-ins as they occur, and you can follow your boy at J-Dub Champion, hashtag The Real Rush. And for The Real Rush, ladies and gents, I am your boy J-Dub. Thank you for tuning in to episode 75 of The Real Rush right here on YouTube, right here, right now. Remember, when you're at the movies, chill the fuck out. Don't be doing all the talking and the chitting and chatting and looking at the smartphone and looking at the smartwatches and all that. Keep the lips shut, put the phones away, put them on silent, put them on vibrate, and maybe even turn the smartwatches off for a minute, because I guarantee you that any conversation, any text messages, and even the time, all that shit will be waiting for you after the movie's all said and done. Enjoy yourselves at the movies, ladies and gents. Have fun, y'all. Love, J-Dub. And we'll see you next weekend. Peace.